Alrighty, and we're on. So I'm here with Samuel Beatty, is it?
Oh yeah, you got it.
Yeah, there we go. And where I first met Sam. So Sam actually he followed me on Instagram after chatting to Glenn from Combatants. Shout out to Glenn from Combatants and Sam. And then we recently commentated the Glory Australia fight show together. And then Sam and I we actually had a couple of phone conversations, and it was like, man, you're an interesting dude. Like, that's what I was saying to Sam. Yeah. and I was like, okay, we got to, sit down and chat a little and share some of your story. So why I think you're interesting is because obviously you got like, to me, from somebody that didn't know you, right? Like, you got this pretty big personality. You're out there. You're extroverted in that sense.
Yeah, except when I'm training, I'm introverted when I'm training.
We'll get to that.
Yeah,
we'll get to that. And so you outwardly, you seem like a very confident guy, and you're into hip hop, you're into your music, you're on Spotify, you got a whole bunch of different things going on. And so then I was like, okay, where do we even start with this, right?
Yeah,
I think where we should probably start is to sort of Let's wind it all back, right? Like, because you're an American guy,
yeah,
that's living in Australia now.
Yes.
So I'm a little bit curious about what life was like for you growing up. Where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in New York City.
Yep.
But before I get into that, thank you for inviting me to your show.
That's it.
I grew up in New York City on the Upper West Side. In Manhattan, near the Museum of Natural History, in the center, like right where, kind of the middle of where Central Park is. A variety of different ethnicities were around me, from Italian to Jewish. Back then, it was Chinese Americans. I had a few friends from Japan. I mean, it was Asian Americans or migrants who came from Asia, different parts of Asia, that settled in New York. We had the Puerto Rican community, the Dominican community. Again, the Dominican community coming in fresh into. I mean, there were Dominicans there before I got there, but when I was growing up, our area started to grow with a diversity. So we had everyone. So that was my area, and it was beautiful. I had a beautiful childhood. Yeah. It was wild. Don't get me wrong. It was wild, but I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it at all.
So then, do you have any siblings, Sam?
Everyone's passed away.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Everyone. So parents.
Oh yeah. My mother passed away when I was 10. My father passed away a few years later. But I had two brothers. One, my middle brother, Elliot, who passed away when he was quite young. He's about 3 years older than me, 4 years older than me. And then I have my oldest brother who died in the early 90s while I was in Norway. I was actually 93, 94, he passed away. So I'm the last from the American, I'm the last of my family there. My family now with my children, they live here in Australia. But yeah, so I was the last one born.
Fuck. So
no, it's all right. It's all good.
No, but I'm pretty curious about and only talk about it if you're comfortable.
No, I'm fine. It don't bother. Yeah. It don't bother me.
But like,
I'm not emotionally traumatized by it all.
But to grow up, so I guess maybe let's start with what are some of your earliest memories then? With your family and all that sort of stuff, and then. I am curious about, what happened with your parents and your brothers and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, you're good. Well, you got to realize that I was born in 68, and a lot of the people that are Black American or African American, a lot of them were coming home from Vietnam War. Others, I mean, the drugs were quite heavy. Heroin was everywhere in New York City, so people were totally messed up, and then you had the hippies, because remember, I grew up in a diverse area, so we had all the hippies. So My area was like a pharmaceutical area.
Could get whatever you wanted.
You can get whatever you wanted from young age. So growing up in New York City, it was like a playground. Literally, it was like a playground. And when you got to the age where you could go out on your own, was probably around 6 years old, and you just started kind of hanging out with the other kids, and you go to the park, you play like any other kid, and you also sometimes snuck into movies. That was a great time, I think, because remember, New York City is a winter state, or New York State is a winter state. So in the winter, when you went out the house, you were at your friend's house, or you snuck in the movies. We snuck in the movies like every day. Like we were like master sneakers into the movies. So that was a lot of fun. Because none of us had money.
Yeah.
And so when we were really young, like around 7 or 8, there was a cinema still there on between 85th and 84th Street on Broadway called Lowe's. And when we were kids, we figured out that when the people come out, we little kids could sneak in. Yeah. So while everybody was coming out, we would sneak in. And so that went on for like until you got big enough that, you had to stop doing that. And then like when I got around like 12, I think that I did that from like 8 to like 10, 11. Then when we got a little older, we started to break in on the sides because there was no alarms, there was no nothing. And kids, you leave kids up to no good.
Yeah.
They'll figure out the solution to get in,
Man, can I just interject and just ask you this, right? So this is like what life was like for you for around like 7, 8 years of age.
Yeah.
With your kids at 7 and 8, would you allow them out of the house to do that sort of stuff
no.
in today's world?
Well, in reality, it shouldn't have happened. But again, it was just the time. My children, I didn't neglect them in any way like that. Like my kids were with me all the time because I just had my kids. Like my wife and I, the kids stay with me. Like they, from the moment that they were birthed, like I was there when all my children were birthed. So I was they were with me. Like if I would have came here now, one of them would have been with me now, or my wife would have taken them and done something. But yeah, they didn't even. They did homeschooling for a period of time, so they were with me. I didn't want too many outside influences influencing my children too young, and not just the streets, just everything around. We wanted to make sure that we educated them where we thought they should be educated, so that they're prepared for not just academic education, but for education of the world and everything. But my kids they didn't. But they weren't kids like that.
I just brought that up just because it's like such a contrast, in terms of how you grew up versus and as parents, like how we feel like we want to raise our kids is a very different thing to perhaps what we experienced, right?
Yeah. My oldest son, who's my stepson, I brought him up since he was 7. When he turned around, when he was about 11, 12 years old, because now he's a professional didgeridoo player. So when he got a little older, we allowed, I would go down to Circular Key, and he would play didgeridoo and busk with the older guys. So he was able to do that. And a couple times I let him go by himself, but he got distracted. But we were my wife and I, we didn't play. We just didn't play around. And so he got into a lot of trouble because our whole attitude is you go where you say you are. Don't sidetrack and go, because then you lose trust. And you're the eldest. That was the whole thing too. You're the eldest. You got to lead by example. So now he's a great father. He's got 3 kids, and he's actually a leader in his own right. But my daughters now, they didn't even we were together all the time because we're all performers. Yeah. So we're actually always performing. So the kids were with us all the time. So it wasn't until they were around really 13, 12, they started to go a little bit out and everything like that. And they knew the rules. Yeah. They knew the rules. Don't talk to anyone if you don't know them, da-da-da-da. So my daughters were very cluey. They were much more mature for their age than a lot of other children.
So then, back to your story. So you're sneaking into cinemas, and I guess what was school like for you? Do you remember much about school?
Yeah, I went to Catholic school.
Yeah.
Old school Catholic school. You know anything about old school Catholic school? They beat your ass. Yeah, they didn't play. I lasted 4 years.
4 years.
I lasted 4 years. I we was wild, man. I'm trying to tell you, like, we were wild. Because you got to realize New York City is a place where from the moment that you can, you got to fend for yourself. I don't know, not fend for yourself, but like today's bullies is different. When I was growing up, the bullies was in your face, and you had to fight. And first grade, second grade, well, year one for Australians, year two, as we say in America, first grade, second grade. I was fighting all the time in school.
Yeah.
Kindy, I was fine. Like, kindergarten, everything was great. But as soon as I got into first grade, it all changed.
And what was it about? Like, do you remember, was it for bullying? Was it racism? Was it like, what was the sort of factor?
It could have been anything, But see, I come from a generation that you can't do today. We was all different, but we all snap. We all make jokes on each other. You can't do it today.
Well, that's like what traditional sort of, or at least Aussie culture was like when I was growing up. Like,
yeah.
You can be with your mates and you can sort of be self-deprecating, and as the Asian guy, you can make the joke about the Asians.
Yeah. Oh no, we make fun of
everyone.
Everybody got it. Everybody got it. But see, the thing for me growing up in New York, you got to realize Bruce Lee was the shit. So everybody loved the Chinese culture. Bruce Lee was, what I mean? Really, on the real, no, you didn't really hear people straight out dissing Chinese people. And no one dissed the Japanese people because, like, Speed Racer, Godzilla, like, we looked up to Asian culture, kind of. You know what I mean? It was mostly like the Puerto Ricans, the Dominicans, and the blacks, and the poor white kids that hung out with us, But the Asian, I can't say that we made fun or any of the, because remember, we're talking about a time when a lot of the Asian kids that came from my generation, they came from a different discipline. You know what I mean? And so their discipline was like education, school. And so everybody else kind of hung out with us as they aged a little bit. Once they got away from their parents, they were able to hang out a little bit more. But they weren't really in the circle with us. You know what I mean? Like, we had two brothers from Korea. Like, they were studying all the time. You know what I mean? Like, but we didn't make fun of them, so. But again, you could get it, if you was in the circle, like today, they'd be canceled. Everybody would be canceled. I can't even tell you some of the jokes we made, you know what I mean? Like, but we didn't do it out of trying to hurt each other. Yeah. We did it just trying to make each other, like, laugh. Yeah. Like, we were all this snapping. Snapping is another word for, like bagging on each other. And like my Dominican friends, we used to say, yo, B, you eating plátanos, or like the Puerto Rican community, you big rice and bean eating. And then they be like, yo, Sam, you big ham hocks eating, pork chop, So we was always snapping on each other about our foods, maybe our clothing, you know what I mean? And so it wasn't anything like to really, really, really hurt you. Yeah. It was like, we got one friend, he had an eyebrow that went all the way from over here to, like, it didn't break up here. And we monobrow. We used to get on his case, but he was funny. The more funny looking the person was, usually the funnier he was. Yeah. And the girls too, you know what I mean? The girls are funny too. So, no, we didn't really deal with, I won't say racism, but I'll say, like, growing up like that it kind of bonded us as boys. Like now, so I'm on Facebook with a lot of these guys, and like, we still talk. I mean, we're all of us are fathers and stuff like that, and of course, if we get together, we'll have a joke. But it's not like when we were all kids and we were making fun of each other. But we also protected each other. So, did I answer your question? You got me thinking about all these things that I think about, but I haven't thought about in a minute.
A long time. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, so I guess I'm a little bit curious about, what, you lasted at school for 4 years.
Oh, yeah. All right, so Catholic school, 4 years. The first 2 years I was fighting, and I was just a bad kid, so they kicked me out. Because we used to have a maintenance guy who was mute, Puerto Rican man, and he was mute. And so every time you would get into a fight or you did something wrong, her name was Sister Helen, this Irish lady with blue eyes and white hair. And she must have been smacking a lot of kids over the years because she had thick Irish hands. No lie.
Like a glove.
No lie. She was no joke. And Sister Helen used to beat my behind like every other day.
Wow.
And because it was like these poor schools, they turned the gym into a lunchroom. So she would take you in the middle of the center where your camera is and beat you
in front of everyone.
In front of everyone. But I was so tough, it didn't even bother me.
Yeah.
Because I was getting my ass whipped by my parents at home. So I was like, yeah, you ain't really doing nothing. And in those days, you had to be careful because if your parents found out that you got a whooping at school, you get another
whooping at home.
So you didn't go home and complain.
Yeah.
You just took it. Because the next minute, as soon as you finish, you back to fighting again. Really, that's the reality. Or someone's teasing you or, you got beat by Sister Helen. So she beat me so bad, she split my pants, and I used to have to go down to the maintenance guy. It was also, he sewed up all the kids' pants. I don't know.
Yeah, wow.
But he didn't speak.
You just gave him your pants, and he just
he was mute, and because he was mute,
yeah.
I don't want to make it a joke, but he was like
signing at you.
Yeah. And as a child, I did think about this years ago. I was like, how the heck did I understand what he said?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But I used to. We have to remember when we're children, that's when we absorb everything. And I used to communicate with him. And for 2 years. And then they put me in another Catholic school.
Okay.
That wasn't, by that time they had to stop, the nuns stopped beating people. But the thing is that I was just a rebel.
Yeah.
And, nothing towards Catholicism or religion. I just rebelled. Because what happened is that when I went to get my communion, right, we were practicing. And one day I seen Jesus Christ, right? I'm looking because, in the Catholic churches, they have all the angels and stuff. And they were they were all white, Caucasian. And I was like, even when I was small, I was like, yo, why they all white? And I was young. I was very young. So I didn't say anything to anyone. I just kind of was like, there was, and not to diss Catholicism, but there was nothing that I could identify with as a person of color. And I was too young to know anything, but I would go, oh, wow. But I went to church like everyone else, but I switched over to Episcopalian church because I used to go to the after school program, and all my friends went, all the poor, okay. So everyone who went to Catholic school, those are parents who worked really hard to want to get their children to bed. It was like, you can't afford to go to private school, so we'll put them in Catholic school. So that's why most people put them in. To not get that public education, but to get that little bit better education. And but what happened is that after school, I used to go to an after school program at St. Matthew's and St. Timothy. And that's where all my actual friends went. So I asked my grandmother, can I go, instead of going to church with her on Sunday, can I go to the Episcopalian church so I can be with my friends? And that's another story. But after third, I didn't even make fourth. First, year 1, year 2, I went to Catholic school. Year 3, I went to public school because I was that wild. So they just had to put me in somewhere. Yeah, they had to put me somewhere. 4th grade, year 4, I went to Holy Name. But Holy Name, I wasn't bad. I wasn't Holy Name was different. It was a totally, no one beat you. No one really picked on you. But I wasn't getting the attention a child needs to further my education, to get to year 5, year 6, year 7. So my parents put me back in regular public school. My grandmother did. And that was just, and that's where I discovered hip hop Well, I'd already discovered hip hop when I was younger, but that's when I really discovered that's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And everything.
So, I want to get to the hip hop thing, but
Yeah.
you brought up your grandmother, so I'm guessing she was a bit of an influence in your life.
Well, she's an influence in all of our lives because she was the one that was the breadwinner. You know, she's the one who went out every day and worked and kept the roof over our head and, you know, and made sure I had food in my belly. You know, not just myself, my brother, of course, my mother. But again, you got to realize those times in New York, drugs. You know, I don't want like this segment. I don't want to get too deep into the drugs, but my mom's, everybody, they were all on, recovering drug addicts. You know, you got to realize that it's sort of like if you look at old China when they brought opium into China, so they brought heroin into Harlem, and it was distributed to everyone, so everybody was shooting up.
Yeah.
So it was, but again, I wasn't born yet, so I can't speak on what was before me. But what I can speak on is the after effects of what it did to the people who lived in Harlem and the Bronx and wherever else that, the lower income people were living. Yeah. And it really ruined a lot of good Black American households because before that, people were drinking. So when heroin came, it was like the next level. Everybody was probably drinking, smoking a joint. I don't think cocaine was really there yet.
Yeah.
So when heroin came, it destroyed a large amount of people in the poorer areas of New York City. So, but in saying that, growing up there, watching it all, it was also lessons. You got to take your burdens as lessons sometimes, if that makes
100%.
Like I'm here. That's why when you asked me, I'm sorry, I was like, no, I'm good. I'm like, I made it. Yeah. I made it through the 80s. Ow! No jokes. I feel good. No, anyway, yeah. So by the time fourth grade came around, I was in Catholic school. They passed me through, but it's just get them out.
Yeah.
And then my grandmother put me back in regular school, and we got a thing called middle school, junior high school.
Yep.
So fourth and fifth grade, I did Catholic school, and then I was fifth grade. Fifth grade, and then I went to middle school, and then that's when all the fun began, or the next level, because then you had kids from different
schools coming,
all coming together. Yeah. So new faces, new friends. I was only bullied. I got bullied once, and that's the only time I dealt with racism. I had a white kid say, "Get out my way," and I was studying martial arts by then because I had been fighting on the streets. So some of the big brothers, but again, I wasn't a bully fighter. I was just a kid who had to protect themselves against those who wanted to bully me. So the young kid called me the N-word, and I kicked him in his neck.
Yeah.
And I got into a lot of trouble. I got into a lot of trouble. But the thing was, I said, listen, he called me a racist name. And what happened was that the Roots, the TV series, had come out. So when people saw that, they tried to use that as ammunition against Black American people, saying, oh, your roots, you're a slave, on top of what, it was sort of like it reinforced the new Caucasian people to say, oh, you're a slave. But they themselves don't even know their own history and how they got to wherever they got to in America and what the British were doing to their own. We celebrate Independence Day, but most of us aren't taught about the reality of what was happening throughout Europe for like 5,000 years. And that's for a different day. But what I'm saying, at that time, it was like Roots it basically said, oh, they were living in the jungle, they were slaves. No, they were living in the jungle, they were barbaric or whatever, and we brought them to civilization, but we used them for labor, free labor. So, and then of course the N-word and stuff like that. So kids felt, but it wasn't a kid from around our way. I think it was a white kid who did not grow up around any ethnicity outside of his own. And because he didn't grow up, he felt comfortable to say it, but he said it to the wrong person.
Did you say it? Did he ever say it again after that?
I don't know. I never seen him after that.
Probably not to you.
No, because remember, I grew up in New York in an area that, like, white kids, like, we went over to their houses and stuff. Like, we chilled. We played basketball, baseball. Yeah. You know, you came in the house, hello, Mrs., you know, so-and-so. You use your respect. You know, you knew when you were going into your boy's house, you know, Sam, are you hungry? You want something to eat? I mean, they might have eaten, like, and we all ate peanut butter and jelly. You know what I mean? Like, we all had a respect for each other. So we were sort of like, I believe, like kind of like the Martin Luther King dream of black kids and white kids coming together. Mm. But there were kids who were from out of the area that probably didn't grow up with that same mentality. And you know how it is. If you grow up, you know, if you go back to your area, you might see some of your old friends or their family, and you might go in their house and you know, and talk and reminisce over the old days. So that's what it was like in Manhattan growing up. Like most of the kids that we grew up with, we all knew each other, you know, and we all hung out together. Like if it wasn't kids, like different kids, some kids play basketball or we play baseball. We, you know, if it's winters, we play football. Summer, we play baseball, you know, we play basketball. So we all knew each other, like we all knew each other. And whoever's house was free, you're like, that's where we go, you know? And my kids, my youngest, he doesn't. So it's the same thing, you know? So anyway, yeah, middle school is, do you want me to go into middle school or?
Well, I'm curious because, you know, you brought up, you know, where that you started, that's when you started to really get involved with hip hop.
Yeah.
Right? It was from the public school thing, right?
Yeah, well, my big cousin, Sundance, is first generation hip hop, along with my brother who passed, Elliot. So I grew up with hip hop from the beginning. As a little boy, just watching it and being around it. So I was lucky to have grown up in hip hop from the birth because my brother and my big cousin, he had all the equipment. He had everything. So I was a little kid like, oh, wow. Oh, you know, fascinated behind it all. But it wasn't until a few years later that I started to, I was a graffiti artist, but I was terrible.
Oh, really?
I was good, but I was terrible. I got more paint on my body than I got on the walls. And I couldn't run into the trains. I was too scared to run into the trains because you would hear the stories of what the cops did to the kids when they. Yeah. Some kids got But you would have to talk to a New York graffiti artist that could tell you who were running through the tunnels, putting up pieces and stuff like that. So, but yeah, but when I officially got into, well, I won't say officially, when I was already graffiti writing. So what happens is that in the old days in hip hop, when the word hip hop was sort of coming into place, you might have been a graffiti artist, you might have been a DJ, or you might have been a break dancer. And then later, popping, what we know as popping, came into New York City. We changed the name to Electric Boogie. I don't know why they called it Electric Boogie. I was told because boogie's for dance and electric is like, you know, you're moving electricity through your body. So when I seen Electric Boogie, that caught my eye. And it's funny, I was coming back from the museum, because middle school, they let you go out at lunchtime. So me and some of the other girls, we just went to the museum because I lived in the museum. I love museums.
You lived in the museum?
Well, we went there almost every day.
Well,
because the museum, like literally, you walk out of my house, you walk across the street, there's the planetarium, and then there's a museum of natural history. I've been going there since I left. I've been going there my whole life.
Wow.
My whole life. I went when my brother Elliot was alive. We used to go into music, and you pay 10 cents.
10 cents to get in. That's it.
10 cents to get in, and we were there every day.
And what would you do when you're in there? Because like the art pieces don't change that often, right?
Nah, but the museum is so big, though. The museum is not a small place, man. It's big, and you have the African room, you have the nature room. You have the prehistoric room of all the old reptiles from bones from, you know, millions of years ago. That was my education. That was more of my education than school, because without that, I don't think I would have traveled.
Yeah.
And the thing about the museum, there's a part in the museum where they got this whale just hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah.
And when you walk in, you see how the blue cloud is?
Yep.
It'll be about that color. And when you walk in, the whale was
Suspended from the roof.
suspended.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I used to love that room. They had the rooms of all the different birds. They had what's this movie, Night at the Museum?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was like that.
It was like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we was doing that.
Because you were young, it's like almost everything's like coming to life.
Yeah.
You're walking through and you're seeing things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
And you got to realize, before we invented a classroom, our ancestors took us out into the bush and taught us. Doesn't matter what your background is. Before we built buildings, we all had to live as indigenous people. So our elders would teach us where the plants were for healing, and be careful of that animal, and this is the animals we eat, and don't walk there, and this isn't our land, that's their land. We can't step over there because we're violating. And then once man started to build things, it all changed. And sat a child in a room trying to teach him how to look at something on a board or whatever it may be. And a lot of children don't learn like that. They learn by action. They learn by touching and feeling. And I was that child. I couldn't sit still for long. And for whatever reason, maybe also the foods we were eating, all the sugar. We was eating sugar like, so I was like, I was probably that kid that couldn't
excess sugar, excess color.
Yeah, so at least in the museum you kept moving, so you was flushed and all that stuff. You say, little kid, I gotta go to the toilet, because he's been eating crap from the moment that from breakfast, from the moment you eat cereal with sugar and milk. I don't want to put anybody's food down, but that's, that sugar keeps you going, know?
Yeah.
And you're a small boy. So, so the museum was a place of knowledge and escape. Escape, because you got to realize, once you step out back into the real world, you got drug dealers, you got child molesters, you got drug addicts, you got criminals, you got ex-cons, you got everything under the sun in New York that's a predator. And you don't know which way you're going to go, that you can fall victim to something. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying?
Did that make you very skeptical of people?
Nah.
No?
Nah. Your spider sense, listen, my grandmother used to say a sucker's born every day. Oh, that's another thing you learn as a New Yorker. There's certain things you learn as a New Yorker, and you learn young. A sucker is born every day. So if you go to New York City, or you go to some place and you see them playing, what's that, 3-card Molly, right? Monty, whatever that game's called, right? And you see the first guy, he's winning, and you're a tourist, and you come by, you're like, oh, shit, I can win. If that guy's winning, I can win. He put five out. It's a hustle. Yeah. So you're prepared from, my grandmother was, you gotta be wise. They don't say it no more. They don't say it. That's old school New York. A sucker is born every day. And so you go, you get hustled, you put $20 down, you might even win $50. Then you put it all down, you go in your pocket like, yo, next thing you know, you lost $500. Yeah. And you can't get it back because he got his hitman right there to make sure you can't steal it. Yeah. So skeptical is intuition. So when I was growing up, I didn't really, and also sometimes you got to get burnt. Sometimes you got to go through things to say, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah, it's not going to get me next time.
Yeah, no, you have to. I mean, I was lucky because I was lucky compared to some of my friends, but I did experience a couple things where I go, okay, I don't want to do that again. That wasn't no fun. So. But most of the times, the only time you were skeptical was when you was a kid sneaking on the train. You just didn't know if there was a cop hiding.
You get done, no ticket, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, because you would have to, and like most times the cops weren't there, but it'd be that one day you think the cop ain't there. Yeah. And he comes out. And he's like, "Show me your
up, boy."
Yeah. No, exactly. So no, we weren't. I don't know. We had a code of respect. Like if you broke that code, you didn't get no love. I don't know. Like we didn't. We and New Yorkers speak straight. We speak straight. If I don't know. Like I came up around a group of people that were well respected in my hood, and they weren't gangsters. I grew up with that mentality: loyalty, respect, and treating people right. But again, don't get me wrong. You could walk. You once you leave your area, you got to deal with a whole different mentality. And it's funny, you do got to carry yourself a certain way in New York, and because you basically it's like being a lion. Every animal in the jungle, I don't care who you are, they gotta be on alert. They gotta I gotta get from A to B, but I gotta be careful where I step. So it's no different. You gotta be careful of where you step. Mm. So you can't be skeptical, because skeptical will. I mean, you gotta use your intuition. You gotta like as I got older. Like one time, I was with a girlfriend of mine years ago, like in the late '80s, and we're walking. It's happened twice. And I got to a corner down in downtown Manhattan, and the streets are long. If you get caught, it's like where Michael Jackson did The Way You Make Me Feel. Like he goes down that alleyway and he's dancing with the girl. Well, those alleyways are dangerous, and you can get caught out there because you can't. There's nothing.
Yeah,
they're too big. They're too big. So one time we just came back. We had a couple of drinks, smoked a joint. And I was like, and she's like, what's wrong? And I was like, nah, we're not going down the street.
Yeah.
I was like, we're going to turn back around and go this other street. I didn't know why, because I walk down them streets all the time. But this one night, I was like,
Sure it wasn't the weed and you were just freaking out?
No. I didn't survive. I survived the streets. I survived the streets of New York through my gut feeling. Mm. My gut feeling saved me a few times. And you got to listen to that your intuition, they say, is your second brain, right? It's because it's in your gut, right? You got to listen to that gut. If that gut say, don't go that way, don't go that way. And because I've seen a lot of my friends go to jail because they ignored it. Mm. They ignored it,
yeah. And they still went through with it, and then they got caught.
They got caught.
Yeah.
So, and I have friends who did time. Really, like big time, and you don't want to do time in New York or in the States, because they send you upstate in the cold. There's nothing nice about upstate being locked up. But anyway, back to what you're saying. No, I wasn't skeptical. I didn't hang out with people like that, and I was very open. I'm an Aquarius. I'm very open, but I'm street smart. But I give everybody. I don't know. Skeptical. No, I'm not. I think being as long as you ain't trying to hurt me in any way physically, I'm pretty I don't know how to say it.
It's
Johnny.
good because you haven't let life jade you. You don't have this chip on your shoulder. You're very relaxed about it. Whereas I think there's a lot of people that would go through, even just and you could probably count the number of people on your own fingers and toes of who grew up in that same environment but grew up angry.
Yeah. Let me just open my drink.
Yeah, don't do that first.
Yeah,
because it's very funny when you think about those sorts of circumstances, and there's only really two sort of ways that people come out of it. They either come out of it and learn the lessons from the things from the perspective of I might not be getting shown good things here, but I can learn what not to do.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, there's the other ones that will then go, okay, well, I'm going to learn how to do that. And then when it doesn't necessarily play out for them, they can get very angry about the whole world.
Yeah. And that comes from childhood. That really comes from your childhood, because how our parents bring us up, and also our boundaries. Because we learn boundaries from the moment that we can crawl. And certain boundaries from when we're small teaches us, we don't want to do that again. Or if you constantly keep, of course you want to protect your kids from being injured, but sometimes they need to fall. It's like when kids learn to walk, you can't keep catching them.
Yeah.
Because they don't learn how to properly walk.
Yeah.
So you got to let them fall for them to get up to find their balance. Mm. And this is the lessons that we learn all through life. the lessons never stop. We never stop learning the lessons. Oh no, we never stop going through things to learn the lessons. It's what we learned from the situation. Did we go, oh, okay. But also, I believe you got to tell yourself, listen, I know I can be stubborn at times. I know I can be narrow-minded, but please help me be open-minded. From the moment you tell yourself that, when something happens, something will click. And you go, oh, okay, all right. But you might be narrow-minded for the next 6 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, but you got to keep telling yourself to change. Because as long as you keep blaming, it's sort of like you're just closed, like the door is shut. So I think with us growing up as children, if that makes sense, like we got to learn. And a lot of my friends that I grew up with, some of them left and went to the service and joined the Marines and the Army and the Navy and things like that because it was too much on the streets, man. I mean, it was dangerous. New York was a dangerous place, and there were a lot of and also if you don't come from money and you see these big time drug dealers rolling up to your block in this nice car, who's not going to be influenced by you want
to be a part of that.
You want to be a part of that, So, I mean, I like the nice things, but I didn't want to be a drug dealer. I was like, no, I don't want to go to jail. I like my freedom, and I don't want to be someone's
lackey.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I don't want to be holding someone's belt and them calling me saying, "Hey, Bubba, get over here. Let me put this up in you." I was like, "Nah, I didn't want." I was like, "Nah, I like my freedom."
So okay, we got to complete the story. So you said you were coming back from the museum. And you that's where you.
Oh yeah. See what you started with
the. I've got to get you back on track.
Yeah, it's all good. Oh no, when you asked me about, sorry. Anyway, when I got back from the museum, we were coming from the Museum of Natural History, and I was walking back into the schoolyard because the bell was about to ring, and there was some guys dancing. They had their little boom box out there, and they were dancing, and I was like, "Yo, what's this? Oh, yo." Oh, what? Oh. And like, I just took it all in. And like, I think from that day after school, we went into the lunchroom, we had the last period, and we started dancing, trying to imitate what we saw.
So what were they doing? What kind of dance? Was that the
popping?
Popping.
Yeah. Basically popping, that comes from California. But like I said, we adapted it into hip hop and called it electric boogie. And so from that moment of me seeing these guys like Mr. Please, there was a guy named Mr. Please, another guy named Jordash, and Mr. Please was tall. And you see Michael Jackson in Smooth Criminal when he leans. That's what these guys used to do. Mr. Please used to wave, and then he lean, then he come back, and I was like, oh. So we went to the gym and we started dancing, and then I had an older guy a couple of years who I don't even know how he got into school, named Larry Love. Larry Love came in. He's got a song called Larry Love. It's an old hip hop song. But anyway, he used to teach us. He started teaching me how to do the moonwalk. And the way they taught us, they just danced and did it. You did it. Like it wasn't like, okay, how you see Michael Jackson learn? Not that. We was just like he did it, and then you just follow what he did until you had it. And then after that, like after about no lie, it was like about a week later. I was outside with my boy Adrian. I was like, yo, I gotta come up with a hip hop name. I need a name because everybody got a name. And my man, his name is Adrian. We used to call him Knotts.
Okay.
Like Don Knotts. You know, he's American actor, right? And his last name is Knotts. So my man Adrian, he had big knots on his head, right? So we called him Knotts. That was his name, right? But he was really good at beatboxing. No, he was good. Oh, he could hit the drum. He could hit anything. He could hit anything and rap at the same time. And I used to be fascinated by him. I was like, yo. And so, like, I kind of looked up to him. And I was like, yo, what name should I come up with? And he was like, yo, Sam. Sam, I am. And I was like, oh, word? And I was like, you think so? He's like, yeah. And I was like, yo, Sam, I am. So that's how I got in. That's how I started hip hop, like with my name, and I started dancing every day, like every day. Like after school, we just went to my boy's house and we practiced and then we started to battle. Yeah, with like 5 moves. But yeah, so that's how my hip hop. That's how it started.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to go back and touch on, your brothers and your mum.
Yeah.
We didn't really finish that sort of
Yeah.
right? So I guess, what happened? Why did they pass so early in your life?
Well, I don't want to get too deep, but I'll just say my middle brother, he drowned.
Shit.
Because my mother couldn't take care of him and myself. I don't know, whatever she was going through. He was on some ice, and the ice cracked, and he fell through the ice. While he was out, he was with the supervisor, and I don't know to this day why he was on ice. They were literally with the kids walking on ice, a frozen lake.
Not to go ice skating or something? Or?
No, it was a frozen lake.
Yeah.
So once the lake, once it's cold, it freezes up. And he was on there for some strange reason, this being kids, and he fell through. And the guy tried to save him, but he went in. 2 kids fell. He saved 1 kid, but he couldn't save my brother. So that's a brother that I traveled throughout the museum with and everything. So, and then my mother passed away from a violent attack. She was attacked by some guy she was dating when I was real small, and she got a brain hemorrhage. And she died she died a couple days, 1978, like February 12th, maybe a little earlier. So she died when I was quite young. I just turned 10 years old. So my grandmother brought me up, and that's what I'm saying. Like when you speak to me, I never. Life went on.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it. Like, of course, everybody cried. We're all upset, but life moves on, and you have to find things to get you to keep you moving. So hip hop found me. So between my mother and my younger brother, my oldest brother, he just partied. This party. He's 11 years older than me. He just partied. He had a little bit of money. He had the honeys, and he's a 60s kid. Like it's a different generation, man. He's because I'm 68 and he was, what did I say? 68. He was
59.
59.
Yeah.
So he came from a whole different. He's from that Bruce Lee era. You know what I mean? Like he's from that smoking and drinking and partying. And he was also a martial artist.
Was he?
Yeah. But he had money. He had a little bit of money. So, he just...
What was he doing? Was he so he obviously had a job, or was he...
He had a job, but like I said, New York is...
He's doing New York things.
That's
right. You can say that.
It's just, he's doing a lot of New York things. You know what I mean? Like, that, when you hear me throw it like this, like... Yeah, you got a job, but you got other things on the side. You know what I mean? No, so he basically caught HIV. I didn't even know. And I was in Norway, and when I came back, I was like, "Oh, you look different." And he explained to me what had happened because I was literally dancing overseas, and I would always come back to New York because I was living in Norway. And one day I seen him, and he looked sick, and I was like, "What happened, man? What's wrong with you, B?" But I was talking to him like "What's wrong?" Yeah, I was like, "What happened, B?" He's like, "I caught HIV or AIDS," and I was like, "Why? When?" Like I was kind of questioning. I didn't go, "Ooh, I was like, "You caught AIDS? Where? Who? What's her name? What happened?"
What's her
shit.
name?
Like I was like, "What, you gay or some shit?" Like, cause we're young, we don't know no better. They put him into a HIV home. And I spent time with him and stuff like that. So, but when I came home, he told me, he just couldn't get out the streets, man. And my brother was highly intelligent. He wasn't a dumb dude. He actually finished high school, went on to college, but it's the 70s, man. Like he was partying,
Yeah. It's hard to get out of that.
Yeah, it's hard to get out of it, especially when you got money in your pocket and you got some of the most beautiful black women of that time just around you. Like my brother was only 5'7", but he had everybody used to be like, "Yo, how your brother keep meeting these girls?
How your brother 5'7" how big are you?"
He had like models like not Naomi Campbell, but women like that.
Yeah.
And nobody could figure out how he did it. Nobody could figure out how he did it. But he had money, and he was suave, and he was a nice man. He never disrespected the women. He took care of them. He gave them money. You know what I'm saying? He was a pimp without being a pimp. That's all I can say. True. You know.
That's a good way to put it.
You know, he didn't get them to sell their bodies, but he treated the women but also you got to realize my brother comes from the disco era. The John Travolta. He was like the black John. I mean, he could dance. I mean, this I'm telling you, it's so big.
Yeah.
And this man could dance. He could dance like no other. So he go to the club.
Everybody was drawn to him. You got that magnetism, that charisma.
Yeah. And he was only 5'7".
Wow.
He was only 5'7". So, and he could dunk a basketball. So he was very athletic. Yeah, he was very athletic. When I was a little boy, when I hung out with him, when my mother died, he took care of me, like as a big brother. And he took me to Riverside Drive, and he played basketball. And I would have him a little big wheel or whatever I was when I was a kid. And I watched him play basketball. And he played he would play from like 10 in the morning until like 4 in the afternoon. Playing ball like the professionals. So that's the memories I have of my brother. But as he got older and kind of got more caught up in drugs, it ruined him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much that on that note, as coming back from a family that my mother, my brother, all higher education, intelligent people. But kids, stay away from drugs. You know, that's what I tell everybody. I just try to say, try to avoid the distractions around, because it's easy. Misery loves company too, you know. So I don't know. I hope I answered your question.
No, that definitely answers my question. So then, the other thread that we got to sort of kick off is the martial arts aspect of it, right? And then I want to sort of progress through the story and find out how you ended up getting to Norway and all those sorts of things. So when you're in school. When did you get introduced to martial arts, and how old were you?
Oh, my whole life, like that. Because remember, I come from a generation that comes from the Bruce Lee era. Yeah. So my brother studied martial arts. So I like 3, 4, like since I can remember, and remember people were coming home from Vietnam. So a lot of the older men was studying karate back then, or taekwondo, because nobody was studying kung fu in my area. Back then, everybody was pretty much studying Japanese martial arts. So from a young age, I was around martial arts, because there was another man named Mr. Orange. He had a karate school. He used to be Robert De Niro's bodyguard. He had a school up on a few blocks up. So we all, like, because I grew up watching martial arts movies since I was a baby, martial arts has always been around me in my area. If not back then it wasn't on TV yet. So my mother used to take me, since I was a little boy, baby, to Times Square and watch martial arts movies. And the two main people was the one-armed boxer. Who's that with David Chung? Old 70s movie. You know that movie, The One-Armed Boxer?
Yeah, I would have seen it.
It's an old 70s movie. And that movie, my man had one hand. To this day, that's like, I was young. And then Sonny Chiba. Woof. He put his fingers through your stomach and pull your guts out. You know Sonny Chiba?
No, that one.
Yeah, Japanese martial artist.
Yeah.
He made some big movies.
Okay.
He made some big movies. I forgot when he passed away, not too long ago. Incredible martial artist on the screen, And of course, we have Bruce Lee. But so I grew up since a small kid. But what was happening was that my brother was so preoccupied in his life that he didn't train me. So I had another family called the Kerr family, Kerr. You'll hear me speak about them a lot. In general, they are one of my closest and dearest families. They're friends, but they're like family to me. And their brother, Herbie Kerr, same generation as my brother and my cousin, he took me in with two other guys named Ralphie and Ronnie. And they must, I was fighting, like I said, by the time you got to the schoolyard, you were still fighting. So they must have realized, little Sammy, we got to teach you how to fight. So they taught me, Ralphie, I think, studied Taekwondo because there was a Taekwondo school down the street, and he taught me my first sidekick. And then Ronnie taught me how to punch, and then Herbie took me under his belt and taught me capoeira. So not the capoeira you see in the place today. He'd take me to the schoolyard and kick my ass. He'd teach you the Jenga. Once you learn the Jenga, you had to move.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to get swept, kicked in the face. He taught me because he wanted me to know how to take a punch.
Yeah.
So I did that for about 2 years with him, and all the bullies that picked on me from when I was a little younger, I whipped all their asses, all of them, every single one of them. Some of them were older than me, some of them were my age, and I beat up everybody. Not because I was bad or I knew something. I just you can't come no more and pick on me.
Yeah.
So I wound up whipping everyone's ass that picked on me, and from that I stopped martial arts. I didn't have to I made my point, and that's when I started to pop.
Yep.
Right, and then I was dancing, but I used to always go down to Times Square, 42nd Street, to the movies. And I used to watch all these kung fu movies. The era had changed. Shaw Brothers. I mean, all the movies were Shaw Brothers. The majority of them back then. But going from seeing martial arts from a child's eye to now like a teenage eye, I could pay attention a little bit more to, And there was a movie called 18 Bronze Men.
18 Bronze Men.
Yeah, I got to think about the actor. The actor is a well-known Hong Kong actor, and I'm watching it. And it was based on him getting in the Shaolin Temple. Yeah. And I was like, yo, I'm hooked. And it was a triple movie. So you got 18 Bronze Men, you got Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. And when I seen Snake in the Eagle's Shadow, because what happened was that 18 Bronze Men was like some really cheesy, the Bronze Men was like, I mean, you're watching it because it's a kung fu movie,
Yeah.
But when you seen Chan, doing all this snake stuff, and he's Snake in the Eagle's Shadow, and with Jackie Chan's persona and how his character, it kind of woke everybody up. It was like, oh shit, oh wow.
The action's fast.
Yeah, it's faster. Yeah. And comedy.
It's not clunky.
Yeah.
And then they'd hit, and you'd
Yeah, exactly.
Like that Jackie Chan style.
Jackie.
You feel it when people block.
Yeah, you feel it. Exactly. So, and this is before he started to make, his real action movies. It was still when he was making traditional kung fu movies. So, then, of course, because you get a double feature or you get a triple feature, depending on the cinema you went in. So, I'm watching kung fu movies, and then one movie comes, and I have no idea who these people are. Because the normal, the cheesy movies, we know most of the guys because we keep seeing them in the same movies.
Yep.
But this one movie comes out, and it's Man Monkey Kung Fu.
Man Monkey Kung Fu. I don't know. I can't remember that one.
Yes.
I have to think about it.
Yes.
Who was in it?
Lago Leong and what's her name? I'm having a mental block right now. Oh, Shu Hao, Little Monkey. Shu Hao. Shu Hao follows me on Facebook.
No way.
And he's about your height. And he was bad. And I remember, of course, Gordon Lau, Lago Fei, because we didn't say Gordon Lau in my days.
Yeah.
We called him by his kung fu name, Lago Fei, because I spent all my time, I started going to Chinatown. So anyway, and I seen 36 Chambers. I'd seen all that. But it wasn't until we used to all love monkey style. Because we're kids. We're like, we all wanted to be monkeys, So Man Monkey comes out. And from the moment The movie, it's got to be one of the top 2 movies of Hong Kong cinema. And when it came out, it didn't come out all action. It was a whole setup. Those who know Mad Monkey know what I'm talking about. And it wasn't about, the movie, basically, it opens up with the Peking Opera. And Lago Leong's character he's a part of the opera. I'm trying to think who plays his sister. Oh, we used to all have a crush on her when we were younger in the movies. I can't think of her name. I have a mental block. Anyway, he basically, in a nutshell, I won't get into detail, but basically he's in the Chinese opera, and he's invited by Lo Lei's character to sit down and have dinner, but he's got a drinking problem. He's got a bad drinking problem. And these are the things that I learned from Kung Fu movies. Anyway, make a long story short, in the movie, he gets framed for a rape that he didn't do, and they beat his hands until he becomes crippled. And like 10 years later, you see him begging in the streets for money, and he meets a young kid named Shu Hao, and he teaches Shu Hao monkey style, and it's still one of the, and it was dubbed so well. I can't even tell you, it was one of the best, because it wasn't just about the martial arts, it was about the emotions when you make a mistake, and the drinking. His drinking destroyed everybody. His sister became the concubine for the villain. So you can imagine what she went through for 10, 15 years. You know what I mean? So anyway, that movie made me go, yo, could I do that? Really? I was like, could I study Kung Fu? Where do you go? I'm talking to myself. No one knows any of this. I'm just, you got to go to Chinatown. I was like, yeah, you got to go to Chinatown. And so one day I was in Central Park. It's funny how things come together. And this goes into Kung Fu, what I'm talking about. Like, it'll all come together. I'm in Central Park, dude, like where the hippies hang out. And like we're like flipping, we're doing cartwheels, we're like totally cool. And I see these 3 white girls, these 3 hippie white girls, like doing like this kind of Asian movements. And I was like, I just seen that in Mad Monkey Kung Fu. No lie. That's why you watch a movie from beginning to end. Remember what I said at the beginning of Mad Monkey Kung Fu, they're doing Peking Opera. So I'm in Central Park. I might have been smoking a joint or some shit, and I went, I just seen that in the Kung Fu movie. But there were white girls doing it. And I didn't care they was white. I was like, well, are you doing Chinese opera or whatever I was calling it back then? I was like, I just seen it in the Kung Fu movie. And she was like, oh, yeah. We studied with a man named Dong Zifu down in Chinatown. And I was like, really? What is that? She's like, oh, it's Chinese acrobatics and da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh, Peking Opera. I was like, in the movie. She said, yeah. And I said, how do I find out? And she put me onto a guy named John Bush. I called John Bush, and I went down to Chinatown. His teacher was a man named Dong Zifu from Hong Kong. I don't know if he's originally from Hong Kong, but he's from the old 50s movies. And he didn't speak a word of English. And he was teaching people Chinese acrobatics and Chinese opera.
Yeah, wow.
And I trained with him for about 6 months, maybe off and on. But I kept saying, John, I want to study Kung Fu. Like, I like this, but I want to study Kung Fu. So he put me on to another gentleman. I'm having a mental, sorry, because this guy's a character. He's a story in himself. Tai Lung. His name was Sifu Tai Lung. Tai Lung was, I think, I got to find out, he's Creole, I believe. Half black, half white, like French.
Oh, wow.
And they were telling me, oh, you gotta meet Sifu Tai Lung. I was like, yeah. But I didn't know who he was, because Tai Lung, that's I think started in 18 Bronzeman. You know, Tai Lung, he's a famous Hong Kong actor, you know what I mean? Like, one of the biggest. And that was his name and everything. And I was like, Sifu Tai Lung, okay. But what happened was that in my area, there used to be a Puerto Rican dude with long hair, and he used to walk around like he was a Kung Fu master from the movies, right? Because he had the hair. He had the long hair. He had the long hair.
Big ponytail.
And but he was a Wing Chun dude. And he was like, Yeah, because I think I was like 16. I was like 15, 16. And he was like, yeah, Sammy. Because you know my brother. He's the same age as my brother. He's like, yeah, you should come do Wing Chun with me, man. And I was like, okay. I was just like, okay. And then he saw me again. By the time, that time, they were talking to me about Tai Lung. But I was kind of scared of him. I was like, I don't know if I want to train with this guy, you know? Like, I don't know, my intuition was like, don't train with him. Like, avoid him. Avoid him. Because he was just too kung fu-ish for me and stuff, right? And I was like, and Tai Lung it had nothing to do with his nationality because Tai Lung was half black, half white, right? But Tai Lung Tai Lung was the real shit, right? Anyway, I go down, Tai Lung goes, right, tell him he's got to come on this day because he's a Taoist. And he was like, he's got to come on like January 7th. It's so-and-so's, the Buddhist birthday or something. Like, no, he was full of.
Calculated it
Yeah. No, my man was no joke. He was a true Taoist Buddhist. He had he knew all the chants. He knew all the chants. But anyway, but right before I go down, I ran into the Puerto Rican dude again. He's like, yeah, I hear you going down to go train with Tai Lung. And I was like, yeah. He's doing more like what I like. Because I'm intimidated by this dude, you know? I'm like, well, yeah, I'm going to go train with Tai Lung because Tai Lung does Hung Gar and you do Wing Chun. And I don't really want to do Wing Chun. I want to try Hung Gar. Like, that's the stuff Jackie Chan and them do. Like, I'm trying to find things that, you know, like, that are cool, you know? Like Tiger Style and stuff, you know? So, you know, Mantis and all this, Eagle's Claw, Yin Chao Pa, you know. So anyway, I go down and he accepts me as a student. And Tai Lung was just, he was the best, he was the best teacher to have as an introduction to Kung Fu. Because he spoke fluent Mandarin, fluent Cantonese. He knew all the Buddhist chants. He knew all the worshiping for Taoism. Like, it was like I got like a walking encyclopedia of Chinese esoteric philosophy and knowledge. No lie. Yeah. And I spent about 2 years off and on with him and everything. So that was my introduction into Kung Fu. And but he was an old school Kung Fu teacher. He beat you with the cane and stuff like that. He liked me, and he gave me my first Chinese name and stuff. Because he used to give all the students like names, and most of the students that were older than me, they all got like these like Stinky Rabbit, or because if someone smelled, or like,
stitched them up.
Yeah, or like Harry's Harry Dragon, maybe because the person had too much hair in their body, or something, you know, because they're all Westerners, you know, they're all Americans and stuff, you know. And anyway, I was the first one supposedly to get like a real name, and all the older students came to me. They were like, "Oh, Sam, Sifu gave you. He's come up with your name." And I was like, "What's my name?" He's like, "Ling Hao." And I was like, "What's that?" He's like, "Spiritual monkey, because you were born year of the monkey, and you're spiritual." Because I was already deep. Yeah, I already knew about reincarnation and everything. So when we used to talk, I think I used to catch him off guard because he was like, "Hey, why does this black kid from uptown know about Buddhism and, you know, reincarnation?" Yeah. You know, because no one else did. Everyone else only knew what they started to learn probably around his time or dabbled in it. Me, I had books on Buddhism and reincarnation, and I had already experienced going into past lives as a small kid. So when he met me, he was like, "Oh, right." And he was like, "Right, I like you." Like he said, just like the Kung Fu movies.
This shit's out of a movie, man.
No, I'll show you too on YouTube. This is how he talked. But what happened is that he was such a good-hearted man. You know, a little crazy, but he was a really good-hearted man. And as a teenager, I loved him, man. He just, you know, he took me in. But anyway, that's how I started. That was my introduction. And then later, I changed Kung Fu styles. But that was my introduction to Hung Gar. And he actually did do Wing Chun. He knew some Wing Chun. But he was more of, I believe, the Hung Gar and another style. He had a teacher that used to gamble and used to teach him Kung Fu and used to put him as a security guard at the front. And down at East Broadway, that's where the Chinese gangs in New York used to hang out on. It's a little strip. And they said, "Right, for you to learn your Kung Fu, you got to be a guard." And he used to be a guard at the front. And so when all the guys would come in and start trouble, he would have to fight. That's how. So he was like real. But that was before my time. That was like a few years before me. But anyway, that was my introduction into traditional Chinese kung fu.
Wow. Wow. So then how did all this sort of then lead into the opportunities that you had to go and for dancing and all this sort of stuff? So I guess, what year did you leave school? And then, what were you doing for work and all of these sorts of things?
Well, we were always street dancing. Like, I always had money. Like, I didn't have big money, but we was always dancing. So I might have $100, $50 every day. So if you dancing every day, yeah, you're busking. So I always had money. And my grandmother was quite nice. My grandmother always gave me money because I wasn't a troubled kid. You know what I mean? I had trouble around me, but I was going to China. First we were dancing, hustling on the street. And my grandmother loved all the kids because Boogie John, peace, flow committee. So, and my man Cormac. So, I danced with these guys. Julio, my man, peace to Julio, clown, Boogie Clown. So I danced with all these guys. So my grandmother loved the fact that I was out doing something positive with my dancing. So dancing was just there. Dancing was there. Kung Fu was there. You know what I mean? I found to do both. And Tai Lung, he didn't charge a lot of money, maybe $50 a month or something. And I had money, so I'd just give him the money, or my grandmother would give me money and pay him. The only time you had to have money is because we used to go out to Chinese restaurants every night. After class. Yes. That's what I'm saying. I'm not your average American. I ate Chinese. Be careful of what you ask for, because it'll come true. I ate so much Chinese food, you would have thought I was Chinese. I would go back to the hood, and Mr. Chin, peace to my man, Mr. Chin, who used to sell the 4 chicken wings and pork fried rice. I say, yo, Mr. Chin, we're going to get back to that part. I say, Mr. Chin, why don't you sell bok choy and kai lung and oyster sauce? And he used to be like, the first one be like, what's this black kid know about kai lung? And I used to say, oh, no, we don't serve that here. He used to say, I said, I want steamed fish with fresh ginger sauce. I used to tease him because every time I would come from Chinatown, I would still get my ghetto food, when I was around the way. But I used to tease him all the time. And he loved it because he was like, this black kid, he talked to me. I said, Sam, what you do in Chinatown? Oh, I just went to House of Vegetarian, and I just had all this vegetarian food. I was at the Buddhist temple with the monks. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I ate we had class 3 days a week. I was every night we went and we had Chinese food, but he was a big smoker, and he had a few pot dealers in the was the students, hippies. We had hippies. Remember the ones I told you?
In the park.
Yeah. So everyone had the munchies all the time. But we didn't go to expensive restaurants because he was a vegan. So, back then they just say vegetarian. So we ate a lot of vegetarian food at House of Vegetarian and Vegetarian Paradise. You can still go to New York. I think Vegetarian Paradise is still open.
Wow.
In the Village. The one in Chinatown's closed. I think House of Vegetarian on Mott Street. Have you been in New York before?
I haven't, no.
All right. So when you go to Chinatown, the main street in Chinatown is Mott Street. M-O-T-T-T. M-O-double-T. You got everything. You got the late night Chinese restaurants. You got your herbalists. You got your temples. You got your restaurants, and you got everything else. Chinese associations and things of that matter. And, of course, other things that are there. So House of Vegetarian, we used to go. And then Vegetarian Paradise used to be on Broadway, around the corner from the bridge. So we spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time eating Chinese food and learning. Vegetarian food plus learning later when I joined the other Kung Fu school about other traditional Chinese food, not just the crap that they feed us Westerners in the hood and everything. So
sweet and sour pork and fried rice.
Don't do it to me.
The staple of Western Chinese food.
Oh gosh, Australia's even worse. Oh gosh. We got a dish in America. What dish? I can't see. Don't start me, man. Don't start me. Because I didn't eat it. I didn't eat a lot of. I didn't eat. What's this dish? Oh, it used to be good. Actually, wasn't too bad. General Tung's. Is it General Tao's chicken?
Okay.
It's an American dish, but it was actually pretty yummy. Yeah. It was pretty yummy, but it still can't compare to nothing in a traditional Chinese restaurant. Even a hole in the wall in Chinatown is better than some of the crap.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so that's how I started Kung Fu. And so we were dancing. So basically I dance, go to the Kung Fu movies, then go to Chinatown, and I started working in a Chinese cinema. And that's how I found actually, that's how I found my, oh gosh, oh gosh, no, Thailand, was Thailand the first? So you got me thinking now. Because I studied Kung Fu for a period of time with a man, old man from Beijing. Was that the, oh no, actually, I think I was training, before I got with Tai Lung, I got with another teacher, and he was in Brooklyn. He was an older Chinese man from Beijing, old Beijing, old mountain. He used to fight up there in the mountain, like the real Shaolin, not this stuff today with the movies and stuff. He was old school, like old school. And he used to teach a lot of people who are non-Chinese, if you haven't studied traditional Chinese martial arts, a lot of the Kung Fu masters would have like their schools right in their house, in their rooms, like in their, a lot of people didn't have money to have big schools. And his whole school was in his 2-bedroom, we would say Department of Housing. And we trained like this. This is how it is.
In a living room.
In the living room. We all trained in the living room. Yeah, that was, yeah. He was, I would have stayed with him. I did deal with some discrimination at his school because I had already studied Capoeira. I did go to there first. Sorry, let me explain. When you was talking about dancing, I was dancing, right? And then I would go to Chinatown to watch Kung Fu movies. That's how I started to look for Kung Fu school, excuse me. So I was like, oh, can I find a Kung Fu teacher? So I went to Chinatown, and there's a few different ways to get into Chinatown. So I went from the west side, and I walked through Canal Street. So there's a big street called Canal Street. And it's like you can buy everything you want. You know, like, I don't know, Christmas tree, anything you wanted. Like, it used to have everything. So I walked all the way through, and I stopped at a Chinese restaurant. I'll tell you really quickly. I seen the same food that Jackie Chan was eating in one of the movies and stuff like that. I seen the chickens hanging up, and I was like, yo, that's what Jackie Chan used to eat. No lie. I went in there, and I'll never forget, man. I love my Chinese people. I don't care what no one say, because I walked in there, it was mostly Hong Kong people there, or people that migrated through Hong Kong to New York. What you want? What's your order? Like, just quick. And I remember standing there, and I was a little shy. And I'm not shy, but because I'm in new territory, I'm like, oh, that's dark. Oh, that's fair. I see Jackie Chan eat that. Like in my mind, I'm thinking, and the ladies and these little Chinese ladies knocked the shit out of me. Like,
Get out of the way. Stop wasting my time. There's no lines here.
Because I'm American. I'm trying to be polite and shit.
Yeah, and they would have just cut right in front of you.
I learned real quick.
And they would have been talking shit about you to the cashier too.
Oh my God! I get that smile and shit. But I was like, and I got. It took me about 10 minutes. And once I got 10 minutes, I fell right into the rhythm. I was like, let me get duck, $10. Let me have this. I left. I packed my bag full. I was like, oh, Jackie Chan, the pork bao, the barbecue. He said, what do you want? I said, that one there. Oh, barbecue. So I have to listen so I know for next time what I want. Yeah. Man, I packed my bag. I had me like a 40-ounce of beer. And there used to be a Chinese cinema. There's a few there, but I went and what did I see? I found a Chinese cinema. I walked through all of Chinatown with my backpack full of food. I seen Drunken Master. I had already seen his movies.
Good movie.
I seen Drunken Master. I said, with Wang Zheng Li, I was like, yo, oh shit. I went in, it was like $5. $5. But nothing was dubbed. I have to read everything. And that was my introduction into Chinatown on my own. And from that, I continued walking, and then every weekend for like the next 10 years, 10, 15 years, whatever, however long it was until I left to go, I left over, I was in Chinatown. All the time. So what happened was that I watched that Kung Fu movie. Then I wound up getting a job as a security. Oh, what happened is that there's another theater that's not open anymore called Music Palace. I hope I'm not taking too much of your time.
No.
All right. There's another theater called Music Palace. And what happened was that by the time I got to Chinatown, Jackie Chan had started to change from doing traditional movies to his action movies. And something came up, and I was like, oh, shit. Yo, that's Fat Boy that fought Bruce Lee in Into the Dragon. I didn't know Samuel's name yet. And I was like, yo, what's he in? What's this shit? And it was totally different from the movies from Times Square. It was Golden Harvest. And I was like, oh, I know him. Oh, da-da-da. So, as a young dude, because we don't know everyone's name yet, we're trying to work out by face. That's how we used to work it out back in the days.
What movies to watch?
Yeah. That's how because no one knew the names.
Yeah.
We're all Americans. What do we know Chinese names for? Except if they got, if they're Chinese, Hong Kong, then they might have a Western name. You know what I mean? I mean, more Chinese do today, but I'm saying back then, you knew like, yo, that's the Master Killer. That's why everybody calls him the Master, because no one knew La Gafei. But they've given him his American name, Gordon Lau. Like, I didn't know him as that. I was like, nah, I'm never calling him Gordon Lau. Call him La Gafei or Master Killer. Black kids call him Master Killer. Underground Kung Fu people like myself, we call them La Gafei. Out of respect, for Chinese culture and for Kung Fu. So I see Sammo Hung Jingpao. I'm like, oh, yo, what movie is this? And when I walked up to the ticket booth, I seen all black people working. I ain't lying. I was like, huh? As a black person, I was shocked. I was like, oh, what's up, man? He's like, what's up, man? How you doing? I'm like, he's like, what you here to see? I was like, like in my mind, I'm like, you a black dude? What you working in the Chinese cinema for and shit? So we got to kicking it. And he's like, nah, we went to high school with the guys, the owner's sons.
There you go. And
we all used to protect each other back in Queens. And I was like, oh, word? He's like, what you here to see? I said, yo, man, I came down to learn Kung Fu. I love Kung Fu movies. Blah, blah. He said, yo, you in for free, man. And every week. And the thing about it, I would go and before the movie even started, I would just stand out there with them and talk. Just talk, not just about Kung Fu movies, just talk with them about what it was like growing up with them and, not them, but I'm saying growing up in Queens, growing up in Brooklyn and being Caribbean and growing, because a lot of these guys were Caribbean, they were Jamaican. The guys who owned it, the kids were of Chinese background who were being bullied because they were Chinese or Asian in general. So they used to protect them. And because they protected them, they said, hey, come work for us at the cinema.
Yeah.
And so we would just kick it. I'll go every week and just kick it with them. And then what happened is that me going now, this went on for like a year or two. So I think my second year, because I'm still trying to find a Kung Fu school. My second year, I meet this older Chinese guy, lovely fella. And I'm like, I'm in Rosemary Theater. I'm working as I wound up getting a job in the Rosemary Theater. African brothers from Ghana were working there. Don't ask me. All these black people were working in both Chinese cinemas, right? So I go in there. I said, peace, my man. How you doing? He's like, what's up, my brother? I said, where you from? He said, I'm from Africa. I said, oh, okay, cool. Him and I got to know each other. And he goes, I said, oh, man, I love these movies, man. He goes, oh, you looking for a job? And I was like, yeah, I wasn't looking for a job. And I was like, yeah, I'm looking for a job. He said, you want to do security with me here? And I was like, hell yeah. And their theater played all movies from mainland China. And I got to see Jet Li before anyone knew who Jet Li was. Yeah. If he wasn't Chinese or if he wasn't in the know, nobody even knew who he was. And I worked there, and Shaolin Temple came on. Whew, I was there all week. Every day, all week. Even the days I was off, I was there.
Watching it again and again.
Watching it again and again. And the Kids of Shaolin, and then later, Masters of Shaolin. That's when they brought Laga Leong is the one who did Masters of Shaolin. Now they're calling it Shaolin 2. Shaolin Temple 2. That's not what it was called. It was called Martial Arts of... The original name in English was Martial Arts of Shaolin. And that was that wasn't the sequel, but that was... By that time, Jet Li was gigantic. And they brought La Leong from Hong Kong to do all the choreography for it. They wanted to make it look a little bit more authentic, along with the wushu stuff. So, and I seen that whole uprising of the promotion and the marketing. I mean, that was like... Chinese people came, some people came out of nowhere. There was, like, Chinatown's full, but when that movie came out, poof. And in those days, when the cinemas would happen, everyone go to Yum Cha, then after the Yum Cha, they all go to the cinemas. And I was saying, man, it was a beautiful, I'll be the only black dude sitting with all Chinese people.
Wasn't Romeo Must Die, the Jet Li movie that he did with Aaliyah?
Yeah, that's later.
But that was a pretty big thing, right?
That was his I can't say that why he did it, but they were trying to break him into
the black community.
Well, just the Western community, because remember Jackie Chan had did that Bronx. Because remember Jackie Chan had been trying to
the Bronx.
Yeah, remember, but he had those other movies that he had did that didn't do so well. And also he's in Cannonball Run. Supposedly he left Cannonball Run because they were saying racist shit to him. All the white people. I don't know what happened, but when he came back and did that movie with the Bronx, Rumble in the Bronx. That just, I was like, y'all just seeing Jackie Chan now? I've been watching Jackie, I'll be talking shit. I was like, I've been watching Jackie Chan since I was like, and I was kind of complaining. I was like, that's not even his best movie. You need to watch Project A. Like, because I knew his shit, right? Anyway, yeah, so that, with Jet Li had already, he was, as we know Jet Li, as we know him, that movie helped him transform into a bigger audience. And honestly, a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people, Black American people, we single-handedly kept Kung Fu movies alive in the United States of America. And the reason I say that, outside of the Chinese community and maybe a small minority white, because remember, most people were watching The Karate Kid. But black people could relate. See, the thing is, what most people don't understand, black people could relate to the Chinese Revolution, the rebels overthrowing, we could relate to it, being suppressed and conquered and, even though it's all within China, but we could always go for the hero.
Yeah. It resonated.
Yeah, it resonated. And look, in the United States, before the Kung Fu movies got on television, it was played in poor cinemas around America. It wasn't in the nice theaters. It was before 12 o'clock, you paid $3 to watch a triple feature. You got to watch 3 Kung Fu movies, bad or good. You could go down the road, catch 5 Deadly Venoms, and something else in another theater. It was all in the ghetto. So who's going to the ghetto? Black people. Black people. Black people. We watched those movies so much, it got picked up and it went on television.
Yeah.
And then as we know, we can see Wu-Tang Clan. So there's that connection between Black and Chinese people. I mean, everything now is the Asian. No. I want to be specific about this. The Chinese people were one of the first Asian people to go into any hood. I don't care if they were making money. They weren't afraid to go into predominantly Black areas, whereas other nationalities would not go in. Even if they had cheap Chinese food and they had bulletproof shit up, they opened their businesses and they served us. And that meant a lot to a lot of people. Now, Chinese cinema in Chinatown, that was predominantly for people of Chinese descent that traveled from all over China who settled in America and had a place to identify with back home.
Retain the cultural links. Yeah.
So there was a difference because you had to watch the movies. I was so deep into Chinese movies, I used to take the movies from Chinatown and take them up by taxi. They used to put me in a taxi and take me to Times Square, and I would take the movies to the movie theaters.
Wow.
I went from watching the movies to
Bring
working
it to the
it.
next one.
And nobody did that. There's no other black person that I know did what I did in Chinese kung fu movies. And I'm passionate about my respect and the love I have for Chinese culture and how it saved me off the streets of New York. You know, it gave me purpose to travel, to learn philosophy, Buddhism. I learned about acupuncture. I studied Chinese herbs. You know, I learned how to use chopsticks. I can go Hong Kong style with the spoon and chopsticks. I can flip it, go Northern style and pick it up one side and eat it on the other side. And this is all because Jackie Chan in Fearless Hyena, when his master died and his granduncle came and he was sad, and they got that scene. They got that scene where Jackie Chan is sad. And his granduncle gets him out of that mood, and he goes to get that food, and the old man snatches out of Jackie Chan's chopsticks. And then they have that big fight over chopsticks, and the granduncle sticks the rock in his mouth. You know? I was like, yo, that's Kung Fu, son. So I used to go home.
Play with the chopsticks.
My grandmother would come in the house, and I love my grandmother because she was home, but she'd be like, boy, what's them sticks doing in my drawer? Because I was like, I got to get good at this shit.
Yeah.
Like that's all I knew. I had to get good at using chopsticks. And chopsticks to me was my connection of showing my respect to Chinese culture. You know? So, I mean, I don't know how much more I can say about it, but yeah, that was, you know.
So how did then that lead to your opportunities to go and travel? Was that something that you always wanted to do? Or like, you know, with the dancing and all that sort of stuff?
Between going to the museum and seeing things that were more than the imagination of the mind is very important. One day I was in school. Hold on, let me just take a sip of this. Year 8, 8th grade. And this is answering your question. I only paid attention to 2 classes, chorus, the choir, and typing class. Only 2 people kept my attention in class. Because all the other teachers are just running the numbers. It's just another day of work. But the typing teacher, he would tell us stories. And he spoke about Australia. And I went, Australia? What's that? And he broke down the metric system because we don't follow the metric system. And he goes, well, in a certain amount of time, we're going to switch over to the metric system from pounds and
kilograms.
Inches. Yeah. To over to kilograms or to whatever the hell this is. I forget now. And he told a story about Australia. And I was like, Australia? I might need to find out about that. And Crocodile Dundee dropped. So I went to see Crocodile Dundee, and I was like, all right. Then I seen some Aboriginal people in the movie. I didn't know they were Aboriginal. I just seen black people. I was like, ooh, who that? What's that?
Why these brothers look different?
Exactly. Exactly. And I was like, I was like Mr. Spock and shit. I was like, no lie. I was like, oh, shit. And then I was like, I watched Crocodile Dundee 1, 2. And the beautiful thing, Crocodile Dundee came out in the hood on Times Square in a double feature.
There you go.
With a Kung Fu movie.
So you watch a Kung Fu movie, then you watch Crocodile Dundee.
Because each cinema had their own style. I seen everything down there. RoboCop, like all the B-graded movies that didn't make it yet, like that didn't have a name yet. They go to all the ghetto cinemas, right? Because you got strip joints, you got hookers, you got everything down in Times Square. You got the Greek food, you got the pizza, you got the pimps, you got the drug dealers, you got the crazy people, all at Times Square. They don't it's not like it's Disney now, right? But back then it was wild. So I'm sitting in the cinema. I was like, oh wow, I'm watching all these movies, and one day I was like, yo, I could go to Australia, right, B? I used to have these conversations, just like I went to Chinatown. I was like, yeah, you can go to Chinatown. Chinatown. You can go to Australia. I was like, yeah, I can go to Australia. So one day I'm with my boys and we smoking a blunt and I'm on the corner, right? And I'm like, yo, son, one day I'm gonna go to Australia. And they was like, ah! And I'm speaking straight now. They was like, nigga, you ain't going to no fucking Australia, son. Your ass is gonna be, well, we didn't say son back there. He's like, yo, your ass is gonna be right here with us. And I was like, nah, son. I seen Crocodile Dundee, son. I seen these black people, I don't know who they are, B. I'm going to Australia. You know, could you imagine you're like 14, 15 years old, 16, and your boys is like, what the fuck are you talking about? What's in this weed and shit? So I might have been a little older, maybe 15, 16, right? Whenever Crocodile came out, right? Anyway, I get together with another friend of mine, a good brother of mine, Douglas Ward, down by NYU, downtown New York University. And we're sitting at this cafe with his mother. He's half black, half white. We're sitting with his mother and another lady. And the lady, I don't know, like he's like, Sam, come, I gotta go see my mom. Come with me, you can meet my mom. So I meet his mom and stuff. Next thing you know, they're sitting there and they're looking at these photos. And I was like, hey, that looks like one of those people I seen in Crocodile Dundee. She says, oh yeah, I just got back from Australia. I went, what? I went, what? And that really flipped me out because I seen black people with blonde hair. I seen black people with blonde hair. I was like, and I just remember just absorbing each picture. And that built even more. I was like, yo, son, I'm out. I'm out, B. I just see some other shit. I was like, yo, I'm out. That's some other shit. And I couldn't explain it to no one. Because these kids, they not intellect. My boy's intellect because he went on to higher, to Boston University or something for Black History. UMass he went. So like he's intellectual. He's a black brother, but he's intellectual. So when we're looking at the Aboriginal photos, we building. You know, he's like, yeah, man, the Aboriginal people, da-da-da-da. She's talking to me about it. I'm like, wow. So when I go back up around the block, I want to share it. And people are like, okay. Anyway, you see the Knicks game last night? You know, like, so that was what started the
curiosity.
Yeah. And then from there, I went to, it took me a few years because I went to France first. I went to the south of France, had a ball.
What were you there for?
Oh, because my first girlfriend, her parents had like their 25th or 30th anniversary, and they invited us to Paris.
Wow.
I was about 21, and that's why I go back to Paris now.
Yeah.
But that was my first international travel. Like it was almost like I had to go to all these little places first, not little places, but closer places before I went on the big trip to Australia. So Paris, I was in Paris for 2-3 days, went to the south of France, just changed my perspective on life. And then I came back to Paris and I was like, I came back. And by that time I was off the block. I was still coming to the area, but I was living with my girlfriend at the time. So I was like, oh, wow. And then of course, being a New Yorker, you don't want to leave New York like too long because you might miss something. Mm. That's the thing about being in New York. You don't want to miss anything. That's why everybody goes to New York because they want to be in the ends. You know, they want to be in the moment. So that was my first introduction to having a passport and traveling. And then after that, I went to LA and lived in LA and was a beach bum. And we can keep that for another day.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was my introduction through Crocodile Dundee. And my wife, she laughs because she's like to her, as an Aboriginal person, I can see it from her perspective. Like, that's like looking at Tarzan and seeing black people, African people, like, dude, I went to Africa because I saw Tarzan. Like, it's not a compliment. You know what I mean?
You've objectified him.
Yeah, exactly. But my wife understood at the time. I was like, hun, I said what my man said when he started to speak I forgot the scene, but when Crocodile Dundee's with them fella, because they made it seem like it was in my mind, I got to watch it again, but it made it seem like, oh shit, they're getting together. He's going into the natives. But come to find out, he's mates with the natives. Whereas if that was an African movie, it would have went, boom, bang, boom. We're going to kill this white man. We're going to put them on the stick and burn them. Like that's the mentality when you think of African movies. So for a split second, that's what I was like, oh shit. Oh shit, this white man gonna get ready to get eaten by the natives. And next minute they're all hanging out, chilling out. I was like, oh shit. So every little thing changed my perspective. So by the time I came to Australia, I wasn't knowledgeable that much more because I lived in Norway for 2 years. Let's see, we can do part 2 for that. I lived in Norway for 2 years, teaching hip hop dance, and then going down to Germany, and then coming to Australia and everything. I lived many lives, I've been many places, seen many things, and I've read many books. One of my rap songs that I never did. But anyway, yeah. So I don't know where you want to go with it, but yeah.
We will have to do another episode or something to go through those stories. Okay, I guess where I want to go through to sort of use what the remaining time we've got is to talk a little bit about the hip hop and the rapping.
Yeah.
Like so obviously you started with dance, right?
Mm.
And then how did the foray into rapping and that side of it come into it then?
All my friends after high school, all my friends, I hope I got this right.
Yeah, no, all good.
Right. Many of my friends went to Berkeley University. Some so I had nothing to do. I was still in New York. I was dancing in a lot of music videos and doing different things, performing. But I left high school year 10 because I had a full-time ballet scholarship.
A ballet scholarship?
Yeah.
Where did ballet come from? So were you doing? Had you studied ballet? Or, yeah.
Yeah, I studied ballet for like 3-4 years. Yeah, because I come from theater, so through capoeira, I have a lot of dance friends.
Yeah.
Like, because you got to realize where I'm at in New York City, I'm around musical theaters. I'm around Broadway. We're breakdancing in front of Broadway theaters. I'm studying acting because you got to realize I come from tap dancing. I come from blues. I come from jazz. I come from a group of Black Americans. Because you got to realize my area is where a lot of Black Americans who were in entertainment lived. They weren't rich, but they could afford to live in a better area. And a lot of these people's kids went to school with me, or was affiliated with the school around me. So, like I said, middle school is so important because by 8th grade I was breakdancing. We had a lady in school. That's what I'm saying. You got to find people in school who connect with you. I had a lady in school who I won't get into details, but because I couldn't sing, I was in choir, and Miss Morris, God bless, Buddha bless Miss Morris. She said, "Baby, just mouth the words," because I couldn't hold a note. But I was at chorus like after lunch every day, like whatever chorus I was there. I was trying, and one of the other ladies, the custodian lady, Jim. She said, "Sammy," she used to have this high pitched voice, "Sammy, since you do that hip hop, you should try this theater dance." And I was like, and me being who I'm always open. So she taught me a dance with this other young fella, and he was a diva. He was young gay kid, 8th grade. He's like, you ain't no dancer. I'm a dancer. No lie. He was like 8th grade, right? And my dear sister, Monique, she was the dancer, and we both had to dance with her. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Monique's a trained dancer, right? Monique's been studying ballet and jazz and all this stuff since she was a little girl. Me, I'm in the choir. Trying to learn how to sing, and I got to learn this dance piece. And he's like, and because I was built already. I was already built. I didn't have a ballet body, but I was cut, right? Much more than this young fella. But he was like, he was getting on my case because I think he was jealous that I could pick Monique up. And Monique, she's my sweetheart. She's like my sister, right? She taught me how to pick her up and dance, right? He couldn't do it. He wasn't strong enough. But he was pretty. He was like real pretty. Like we call him red bone, light-skinned black kid. He was pretty, but he wasn't as powerful as me. So we all danced together, but when it came to the pickup,
It's you.
I was me, right? So I did that dance, and everyone was cheering. And then my other sister, and Mama, we call her Mama Mo. Mama Mo, because she's like my sister, we knew each other since like third grade. She screamed at me all the time. I mean, like, you know, like a sister would scream at you. She's screaming. She's like, ow, ooh, stop doing that, fool. You hurt me. Like, really. She was on my case. If I wasn't a strong person, I might have quit that day, right? Because she was a trained dancer, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I remember she was just getting on my case.
Giving you a hard time.
Oh, she gave me a hard time. Mo gave me a hard time, but I love her. I love her to the last day of breath. Anyway, we had another dancer in the school who was a little smaller than her, named Lysandra. God bless Lysandra. Lysandra studied at Dance Theater Harlem, so she lived at the end of Brooklyn. We're coming from Brooklyn into Manhattan, go to school, hop on a train or wherever she went and go to Dance Theater Harlem, take class, come back, get on the train, go all the way back to Brooklyn, do that every day.
Wow.
So I think it was assembly, and they got me to dance again. Mo, I don't know what Mo was doing, because Mo was in the choir also, so she was doing singing. Mo's multi-talented, actress, singer. She was a triple threat. Lysandra was studying ballet, and she was a little skinnier, a little smaller than Mo. And I could pick her up easy. And we did a piece to Endless Love. And when I finished the piece and came on stage, I had it felt like 100 girls. I had all the girls come to me and go, oh my God. And of course I went to a diverse school, so all the white girls were like, oh my God, Sammy, you're like so good. How long you been dancing? And I got souped up. I was like, I've been dancing for a while now. I was only 8th grade and shit. I was only dancing a few months and shit. But I was like, and that was the first someone applauded for me. This is the first time someone applauded. And it's important. All these little tiny things to encourage people is important. And the girls treated me, because before that, because we were all friends from like, when we were younger, you know, booger face, shut up, snot nose, you know, as kids do, you know. Tease each other. But this time they were like, oh my God, Sam, you're such a great dancer. And I was like, you think so? They're like, oh yeah, you are. And then after that, I got the dancing bug.
You have to do it now.
Oh no, I had to do it because I couldn't sing.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm going into like that masculine, you know, looking at girls, you know, because I knew I was straight, but I knew I was like, oh well. Okay, right on. The girls are like me. Uh-oh. I better get more of this. I can use this. And that's what happened. I just started to, I was hip hop dancing and studying ballet.
And so then the scholarship opportunity
that came like 2 years later, because I got into it, because I wasn't trained from when I was a small kid. I went to a school called Julia Richmond for Talent Unlimited. And because I wasn't a great dancer, I didn't have any technique. They still accepted me, and they would have trained. If I would have stayed, they would have trained me over the 4 years. But I switched the drama. In the middle. Because when I went there, I was like, oh, this ain't the same as the other ballet school. I was like, I want to learn ballet. I don't want to learn jazz. I want to learn Baryshnikov, Mikhail. I went to dance at the Met, Lincoln Center. Like, in my mind. But they had me like, boy, just take that class and learn whatever you're learning, you know. So I studied there, but I was also hip hop dancing. I was also popping in the street, and then we used to go down to Times Square. Not Times Square. We used to go down to the Village, and that's where I started to meet all these actors. Because down in the Village, you got a lot of actors, a lot of acting studios, and I was at an audition for a hip hop commercial, and so I met this young kid. He was like, "Yo, I'm going to Joffrey Ballet School. They're giving away free scholarships." I was like, "Oh, word? Yo, I need a school." So I went to the school, and they had me And I was talking mad shit. Mr. Dario, lovely lady, God bless her. She ain't with us no more. She's Sam. Excuse me. Sorry, because I got to get this shit right. She went, hello, so you've studied ballet before? I was like, yeah, I studied ballet. What level are you? I'm advanced. Now, remember, I'm only taking these little 5 and dime dance classes and stuff like at the community center after school program. I left high. I wasn't even dancing yet. I wasn't even going to dance class in school. I was playing hooky, right?
Yeah.
She goes, okay, we're going to put you in an intermediate ballet class, and we're going to audition you. So me and this other guy go in. You know why they put me in there? They put me in there because I had heart. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. I wish they had a camera and shit. Because you're supposed to go like this, right? I'm like this. Like, you know how you see a typical, like, this thing Jim Carrey, okay? This thing Jim Carrey doing ballet. And I was like, ooh, but when it's 90 minutes, it's not like today, everything's an hour. Back then it was 90 minutes. Now, also remember, I'm studying a little bit of Chinese acrobatics. I'm starting to study like on a Saturday with Deng Sifu, right? Like for a couple hours. I'm learning how to flip. But after that ballet class, I went home. I was like, ooh, I was sore. I saw because I took an intermediate advanced. She should have I should have shut my mouth and said, look, I'm a beginner. I'm interested in ballet. And she would have put me in a basic ballet class just to see what my technique's like.
Yeah.
Nah, my stupid ass. That's why I said extrovert. That shit don't always work.
The ego talking. Yeah, I'm advanced. Imagine she put you in the advanced.
Man, you would have thought Mike Tyson hit me after that class. I got out that class. I walked out that class, and I had to take. I couldn't make it to the train station. My legs were so tight I was sore. I was super sore. I went to the bus stop. I held the bus down, and I got on the bus. I was sore for like 3-4 days.
Wow.
So anyway, I go back in. Mr. Derry goes, Sam, I thought you said you would advanced dancer, but we heard you didn't do too well in class. And I say, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Derry. I was just wanting to so back it in here. She goes, well, we're going to give you the scholarship anyway because we feel as though you have potential.
Oh, wow. And
that's how I got the scholarship. And this is your schedule. You have to work in between your classes. You have to clean the bathroom, and I didn't care. I left high school to study ballet. A lot of people leave high school to pursue their dreams.
Yeah.
Because I was in school for 2 years. The first year I left and I went into drama. And I started to say, the ballet because it wasn't classical, because I used to listen in my home. I listened to classical music. Not my grandmother, not anyone. I listened to classical music. I was 13 years old listening to freaking Mozart and shit. Nobody told me to listen to it. I just enjoyed listening to it. So when I went into the dance school and they weren't dancing to classical ballet, I was like, nah, I don't want this shit. I was like, nah, I didn't come into this dance school. I want Baryshnikov. Miguel, I want to dance like the Russians. But I didn't say that. I just didn't come to class. And then someone said, switch over to drama. And I'm glad I did. That's how I learned my acting. That's why I'm in movies and these little parts. But ballet gave me the discipline to, by the time I got to martial arts, like to really study Kung Fu, I had the discipline from ballet. Because I was studying ballet 4 classes a day, 5 days a week. I came in, my first class was at 9:30. My last class finished at 9:30 every day, 5 days a week. Then I had to come in on Saturday and take partnering class. And everybody used to make fun of me. If they wasn't talking shit about me going to Chinatown, watching Kung Fu movies and working Kung Fu, they were talking shit about me ballet. So that's why if you see on my Instagram, everyone's talking shit. I'm like, dude.
Does nothing for
It's nothing, dude. I used to wear purple leg warmers. I was like, anything. I understand Prince. I totally know why Prince dressed the way he dressed. Because I seen them girls. I was like, oh, leg warmers. I said, I'm going to get me a pair of leg warmers. I got them leg warmers. Them girls go, oh, my God, Sam, they're so adorable. I was like, yeah, you think so? And then I wear them up around the block. And my boys be like, Negro, what the hell is that on your legs? I was like, yo, the girls love it. They's like, what, you gay or some shit? I was like, no, the girls love it, son. You don't even know the half. I'm in ballet class. I got this one girl named Tiffany. There's another, they're all looking at my, they didn't understand. People just didn't, if they weren't from that world, they just didn't understand the attention I got. Because I wasn't getting it around the block.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting anything to uplift my spirit. It all happened in ballet and kung fu. I mean, kung fu's a little different because the Chinese don't play. You got to work hard. You got to sit.
There's no ifs, no buts. You got to put the work in. Right?
Yeah, you got that horse stand. Got to be. You got to get that horse stance. You got the fuck. God bless Changhua. But yeah, you don't got that horse stand. Don't talk. Don't talk. Get the horse stance. Everybody in class. Oh yeah, nah. Don't talk to me. See people say horse stance. Oh, horse stance. 2,000 punches. You know. So that was a different type of discipline. But in all, saying that. Ballet, I would have become a ballet dancer, but I got injured. Because Mr. Dario found out like 2 years later. She was like, I was like, oh yeah, because I'm studying Chinese. Oh, Sam, you're not studying gymnastics, are you? I said, oh yeah. No. I just ignored her. I was like, you don't understand. I'm in Chinatown. I just seen Jackie Chan do 4 flips, and I want to be like Jackie Chan. I want to flip too, but I want to ballet. And I got injured. But it was a blessing in disguise because then I went full time into kung fu. Like, I couldn't dance. Like, I could have. The only other problem with ballet, my knees hurt because when you study ballet, you have to pull up. There's a certain thing you got to pull up, and if you don't pull up when you do certain brushes, it damages your knees. So my knees started to hurt a little bit. So when I got injured, I could have came back, but I just didn't. Like I don't know what happened. I was young. My ego got hurt. But it was a blessing in disguise because then I went full time kung fu, and by that time hip hop dancing had evolved, and I was battling I couldn't stop flipping, when I was in shape I was doing all kind of kips and flips and head spins. I was like I wanted to do Jackie Chan shit, So anyway, that's how I got into ballet and yeah. But the final call was kung fu, and then later, as you know, I study and teach tai chi and bagua, and everything. So,
well, I think we're gonna have to do a part 2.
Yeah,
we've already run a couple of hours.
Sorry, my bad.
No, that's cool. But yeah, like I said, like as people could probably appreciate listening, if you've listened this far, then you realize that Sam's full of stories, and you've done so many different little things.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. How life sort of just takes you on all of these different twists and turns. And like we haven't even covered,
the Tai Chi and Bagua yet.
Yeah, we haven't talked about the acting. We haven't talked about the clothing. We haven't talked about the LA story, the Norway story, the Germany story, and then obviously the Australian story.
No, exactly. But I want everyone to understand that to succeed at things, well, see, today it's a little different because we got TikTok, we got Instagram, things happen a little quicker. But back in my day, you had to be a triple threat. You had to be. You had to sing, dance, act, whatever you did, you had to be good enough to catch people's attention. Because remember, if you're dancing on the street corners, you got people just walking by. So I would go, when I started to study ballet, I added ballet into I'll be popping, next minute I'll do a ballet spin. And people go, oh, what's that? And my boys be like, no, but they were dancers. They could relate to it. It was like, yo, Sam, you just did you just do a spin? Okay, cool. Because people would still be putting money in. But they weren't expecting that. So I try to tell people to have longevity. I mean, at this stage in life, just to finish up, my main thing is internal Chinese boxing, as my school's called, and of course, my acting and writing stories. I don't dance as much. I mean, I will dance, but most of the stuff right now is to make my own films. Excuse me, as I'm older now. But I try to encourage people, find something you're passionate about. Find something what you're passionate about and then follow through with it. Because, you don't know how it'll help. Like, martial arts didn't bring me here. My dancing brought me here. And my acting. You know, when I was living in Norway, I went down to Switzerland to go I made some money in Switzerland through my dancing and my acting. And that money that I made brought me to Australia.
Yeah.
And because of my training in acting, it got me working on film sets now. So you don't have to be the best, but you got to know enough of it that people will say, okay, he's talented enough to, I don't know, to take you on. But now it's easy now. It's TikTok. You know, you can do the same thing someone else is doing and become famous.
I feel like social media sort of makes it a little bit different in the sense that you can go down like a niche, whereas like I think part of it's just like learning any sort of skill. You know, when you see that the people who are the best in that field, you know, you sort of emulate. You know, you imitate what they do, and that's how you learn.
That's how you learn.
And then once you get to some sort of basic level of understanding, then you start to create and you start to innovate.
There you go.
And then you build your own style, right?
Exactly.
And so like you're pulling from all of these different things that you've learned to create your own style, just like what you said with doing the hip hop dancing, you're breaking, and then you go and switch into a ballet spin. Or
exactly.
You're incorporating these other movements into what you're doing. And I think that in itself becomes its own, skill set.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that becomes its own little niche. Right? You're creating your own niche.
No, exactly. I mean, if you look at the greats like Bruce Lee, I mean, even Jackie Chan wanted to break out of the traditional movies, and then he started to create these other types of movies, and then of course he got into the stunts and stuff like that. So I think the greats start from their base, and then as you're saying, expand out, because I mean, I don't know, like I think Robert Kiyosaki said that the word genius comes from genie, and we all need to find the genie in us. So it's important with your children to find the genie in them. And I don't know. It was just like, and being in New York, it's not like I came from a small town where the only thing I had was like karate, judo.
Yeah, everything available.
Football.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's all you got. But Manhattan, it's like dancing took the emotion, like dancing was a way to express my upbringing and to handle some of the turmoil that I was dealing with. Let's say I didn't find dance. Maybe I just was a football player. You know, maybe I would have expressed my way through football, but I would have dealt with the emotions going through me to help me release that so I can enjoy life. Or would I have stayed in the streets and followed some of the dummies, and then I would have been locked up in jail, and who knows, even killed, or, would I be here today? So I think all the choices we make in life are lessons to be learned, but I try to tell young people, like, don't be afraid to fail, because most people are taught to not fail, but fail and then take the time to not purposely fail, but if you fail at something, I don't know. If you fail at something, analyze the correction. Well, what did we learn from it, and what's the solution? Yeah, that's what I want to solutionize from the failures. Even when you succeed, don't stop. Don't get comfortable, because you meet people like that. You're gonna meet people. Back in my day, every day is my day. Every day is your day. Every day we should be improving. And your kids are going to teach you shit that you probably won't even know in like 5 years. They're going to pick something up and you're going to go, oh, I didn't know that one. Oh, okay. I got a 17-year-old son. And I'm going to finish. When he was 4 years old, he took my iPad and he was on every single thing. And I was figuring out, this kid, this is a true story with kids. And I heard about it, but I didn't click it together. He had he didn't go into any weird things. He had Disney. He had Marvel. And I was going, how the hell did this kid find all this thing? Because children see symbols. He connected his mind. He couldn't read, but he remembered the symbols. So we have to realize that children think a particular way before they learn how to read. Before 7, they think a different way. So we have to encourage them, observe them, and figure out a solution to help keep guiding them in a direction to help them down the road of what they want to achieve in life, so that when they turn of age, you can say, there you go, I'm here, Dad's here.
Yeah, I'm out.
I'm out. So anyway, sorry. No. So the door, is there a back door there?
Yeah.
Oh, because I just seen the door open.
Oh, all right.
Is there somebody there?
Well, we'll wrap it up anyway.
Sorry. I thought it was a ghost.
Stay tuned, everyone. We will do a part 2 at some point. If you want to follow Sam, what is it? It's at Internal Chinese Boxing.
Internal Chinese Boxing.
We didn't even get into that story. We will get into that story the next time we catch up. And so stay tuned for the next round.
Yeah. So School of Internal Chinese Boxing. Also on TikTok, same thing, Internal Chinese Boxing, or you can find me as Lyrical Buddha on TikTok too. I don't really use TikTok as much, but I do. Anyway, have a great day, everyone. Peace and love, yo.
We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye. Ciao.